my speech. Can we have slides projected properly? Yes. The topic of my speech is intriguing one, and very interesting subject of great discussions internationally and in particular United States. These are the brief subtopics that we shall touch on. And as an introduction, I have to underline one more time that with the internet explosion and communication explosion, we are living today in a super communicating world, super connected world, digital world. Some problem with the speaker. Hello?
Yes.
I have some problem with your connection, with your plug. Okay, now it's better. Okay, you can go ahead. All right. Again, I have a better phone now. Can you leave that? Just cover the mic with some tape. Okay. One more time. We are living in a super connected world. This is a digital world that we should refer to as a cyberspace. Now, the global world has started as a cyber world. The globalization has started in the cyberspace. We are witnessing a globalization trends, economic, political, cultural, of course, and even military. The true globalization has been initiated in the cyberspace expansion and internet explosion. The entire cyber world is at the fingertip of all of us, just one click away. As you can witness now, I'm sitting in New York City and speaking to you over in Belgrade. Now we have to also look at the feelings of both. And some figures indicate that more than 78% of adult users of the cyberspace believe that internet access is fundamental human right. So now we are talking about cyber human rights that we didn't have before. We know that we have a problem of human rights, but now we have a cyber human rights. And then in addition to this, we have a 50% that want no regulation whatsoever, no laws, no government interference, no cyber police. More than 50% of cyberspace users believe in totally free internet. Now, can we have totally free internet? Well, huge groups all over the world are pushing for internet neutrality, where all bits are created equal, like all humans are created equal under God. That's a popular slogan over in the United States. Well, something that is not just a good idea, it ought to be a law. So we have to have a regulation that internet will not be regulated. A little controversial statement, but the message is clear that vast number of internet users are scared that internet may be controlled and may become supervised, regulated, and over-controlled by the governments of the world, in particular by the government of the United States. Now, quickly I have to tell you that the cyberspace is a totally virtualized space. Now, this mechanism of virtualization is a technical mechanism. I don't want to go into deep technical details. What is behind virtualization? Behind virtualization, we have phenomenal virtual networks or virtual storage, virtual machines, virtual processing, application virtualized, and access virtualized, and as a culmination of the virtualization technologies, we have something that we call cloud computing. Cloud computing. One simple definition that my students like is that cloud computing is computing someplace in the internet. Someplace, somewhere in the internet. And in case of cloud computing, we can assume that internet is a cloud, or the web, which is a special application of internet that made internet so to use, is also a cloud. But precisely speaking, cloud is more a well-defined application in the cyberspace that a lot of clients use from all over the world. So on one side we have clients, and on another side we have cloud service providers or CSPs. Now, there are different modes of delivery of cloud services, and one of the modes is infrastructure as a service mode, in which client has major control over computing processes in the cloud. Client is only utilizing expensive computing hardware and storage in the cloud, while all the data and programs are still under client's control. Well, we have lots of such clouds installed, and we have here another mode that is known as platform as a service. Now, in case of platform as a service, we have not only hardware in the cloud, but we have operating system software and security and administration in the cloud, saving us a lot of money maybe. But at the same time, we are, as clients, losing control over our data and programs more than we lost in the previous first mode. The third mode that we see here is known as application as a service, and this is the most popular mode and the most promising mode, the most attractive mode for people that are interested in launching their computing operations in the cloud, and so saving a lot of money and getting a good performance. In this last case, top case, users and clients are losing control over data, and data, their programs and their activities are becoming subject of total control of cloud service providers. Now, this is the most cost-effective solution, the most promising solution, but it's also the most dangerous solution, scaring a lot of clients to join public clouds. Now, when we are computing in the cloud, for instance, using email through Gmail, that's one of the cloud computing examples, we are really using a cloud storage. We are leaving our data in the cloud. We are leaving our data someplace, somewhere in internet. Now, we approach this storage from our desktop computers or laptop computers, maybe tablets, and maybe our cell phones. Now, our data from our local devices are stored always someplace on the cloud, and being stored there are exposed to a threat and may be approached by some people we would not like to approach. Here we have an issue of privacy. Whether we are company, organization, or private citizen. Cloud storage is where data end up during any computing in the cloud. And this is an issue that has to be legally addressed and defined. Now, the other classification of cloud computing divides cloud options to private clouds, which we find in many companies, and public clouds, which is a beautiful service offered by many companies like Amazon, maybe IBM, Google, Microsoft, etc. That is, like I said, the most cost-effective and attractive, but the most dangerous from the privacy point of view. And then in the middle, we have a hybrid cloud solution where we make a compromise. We maybe keep the most critical, most secret data in the private cloud and benefit from a public cloud using maybe computing capacity there. Well, while we're all scared to go full power to the public cloud, we have to be aware of the fact that there are so many people in the cyberspace that can lose so much with internet being neutral or maybe being not neutral. So we have two ends, two sides, two parts of this overall cyber picture. And we have a government that is pushing for more regulation and more red tape. We have here a picture of a red tape meaning all sorts of no's and stops and forbidden things to do. Kind of a tightening people and stifling creativity and innovation. Now we must be fair and we must understand that a lot of things have changed. In the 40s, we had the end of World War II, and tanks were the main weapons that would deliver a certain military capability, and then came strategic nuclear bombers, and they were very costly solutions, and that added up to military capability, and then came intercontinental ballistic missiles with more capability and tremendous cost that really ruined the Soviet Union and it ruined the United States. And then we witnessed cruise missiles in Belgrade in action. That capability came at much lower cost. And the precision-guided munition is what we see used in Afghanistan and other parts of the world, which gives us tremendous capability at a reduced cost. And then drones are doing tremendous jobs militarily at a with fantastic capabilities at a very low cost. And now I have a handheld personal computers that are extremely low cost and they can really create unseen damage. So we must acknowledge this gap. The fear is legitimate. And we are witnessing something that is known as asymmetry or superasymmetry between the capability and cost. When cost is very little, then any little job can launch fantastic attack. Now, American politicians are leading the world, as always, in trying to address this issue and introduce new laws that will help us control this situation. And here we have an ex-US Defense Secretary, Leon Panetta, in October 2012, last year, warning of potential cyber Pearl Harbor, an attack that might come from China or Russia or Iran or some militant group. Basically, his talks are there to scare citizenry and scare the legislators to move faster into installing the tighter controls and new laws in the cyberspace. In another slide, we see Janet Napolitano, who is Homeland Security Secretary, and she is also threatening of cyber 9/11 tragedy, right? Repeated, but now in the cyberspace, trying to recruit again congressmen and senators to move more aggressively and accept new laws. She is a subject of a lot of cartoons. We see her here napping in the meeting, which indicates that we have to be very cautious who's proposing what and should we listen to this person or that person. Now, in this cartoon, we have a question which says, guess which one was on Janet Napolitano's terrorist watch list? Is it Bobby Smith or Joe Schmo, which is case A, who has a USA belt buckle on his pants, he's proud American, protesting against big government and illegal immigration, etc., right? Or is it B, Muslim fundamentalists and other fundamentalists that are planning to harm innocent people in the name of this or that cause? So apparently the cartoon says that average American is most dangerous to Janet Napolitano. Or in New York City, we find signs like this: if you see something, say something, meaning should we spy on each other? And we always remember Solzhenitsyn and his suffering and his books and writing on a society that was based on neighborly spying. Now, the fear of citizenry is legitimate, as it is the fear of the government officials. We must acknowledge both sides. We are not taking sides in our work. Now, in this process, we have a whole series of legal cyber initiatives. And in this particular case here, in 2001, we had Senator Jay Rockefeller introducing a Cybersecurity Act of 2009, in which he proposes that the Department of Commerce becomes a department that will be in charge of all private data and information of all public organizations, companies, and private citizens. And that really was very scary to all of us, because in this cartoon is Janet Napolitano shows a list of millions of suspicious Americans that might be engaged in subversive behavior that really reminds us of Stalinist Soviet Union. And we are all legitimately scared of uncontrolled supervision and surveillance. Here we have another ex-senator, he's not senator anymore, Joe Lieberman, who was an ultra-conservative Democrat, a very strange person who lost nomination of his Democratic Party. He switched party and was re-elected as a senator, and now he's not anymore. On June 19, 2010, he introduced a bill protecting cyberspace as a National Asset Act of 2010, which was known as Kill Switch Law. Bill means law in the United States. Now, everybody was scared that President Obama will have a switch to shut the internet of the world if he finds that is the right thing to do. Now, do we need more surveillance? We have a question. And Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, is advertised on the internet as a CIA agent who received a medal for contribution to surveillance of citizens of the world. Now, should our children be careful of what they post? On this slide, we see Orwell's 1984 saying or slogan, right? He says, if you want the picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Well, are we looking into the world of the future of this kind? The fear is legitimate and it's justified by all interest groups. I would say, on one side, governments of the world and government of the United States, that may get a boot over the facts, right? Boot of terrorists, but also citizens and cyber users are legitimately scared that they might have a government boot on their face. Now, currently, under consideration is the so-called CISPA law, Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection Act. Now, we don't have too much time to discuss how scary are some things that are proposed there and how frustrating is government to get to what it wants, United States government, and yet leave Americans feeling free and feeling not invaded. Do we need more surveillance? That's a legitimate question. And if yes, what sort of surveillance? Here's one very, very original answer. Now, before we proceed with this answer, we will look at a basic quick comparison between Europeans and Americans on the question of privacy. Now, we look at these questions and we see that all Europeans and Americans are quite clear that we all must lose privacy, and that losing of privacy is necessary for modern living. Now, Americans are a little bit more pro-privacy than Europeans. Europeans are somehow trained to accept the laws and governments easily, and while Americans try to sometimes oppose the government and the laws and change it. Right? I can say we have more democracy than Europeans or other parts of the world, by definition of what democracy is now. But if we honestly look at the cyber threat and analysis of cyber threat, we see that there is no cyber war imminently coming. We see the cyber threats are real, right? But to many seem that the wrong people are telling us about it and about some Pearl Harbor in the cyberspace and 9/11 in cyberspace, just scaring us too much. Because most of the cyber problems are criminal in nature. A little bit we have of espionage, which is mostly industrial espionage, and lots of hacktivism. Hacktivism is actually a violent manifestation of democracy. Now, we must be aware that there are so-called internal threats, but threat might be the ignorance of our legislators. Now, they might be proposing something with not enough of responsibility and knowledge. And as software engineers, we know that C language teaches us a lesson that with C we have tremendous power to do any program, to develop any software. The internet was designed and web was designed in C language, really. Without C, we would have internet coming 20, 30 years later, maybe. So with this tremendous power, we can introduce a lot of problems and errors in modern software engineering. So power requires competence and responsibility. Past controls the future, and who controls the present controls the past. And there are some groups in the world that work very hard on controlling past, present, and future, but we ask here those groups and ordinary cyberspace users and governments of the world, what if we lose it all? Who will control what if we lose it all? There will be nothing to control. So how to save all the data of the world with this explosion of data? I don't want to go to statistics, how much of the data is being generated daily. Where to store all of us? Well, into petabytes of hard drives, but these hard drives don't last very long. So data must be migrated constantly from one set of hard drive storage devices to another and back to refresh the storage, because the storage has a problem of MTBF, mean time between failure, of few years. let's say 3 years on average, is a reliable life of a hard drive, and maybe a 5-6 years of a tape, 10 years of a tape. Well, we have on our team people that work in the field of genetics and bioinformatics, and in our discussions, we came out with some potential answer. Maybe God will be the source of the answer. What do we mean here? We mean that the DNA memories that are now under development with a MTBF of more than 100 years and a capacity many orders of magnitude larger than hard drives may be the answer. The storage, the cloud would be a life cloud. And we should store everything about everybody because we might need it. To see how was it after a certain catastrophe that may hurt us all. And that will be our speech for today. Thank you.